Any other questions by members of the council? All right, why don't we just hear some public testimony? I've gotten some submissions. We're going to start with Mark Rentz from Aqua, then Audrey Kelm from the San Joaquin Tributary Authority. Mr. Rentz.
Are we on? Can you hear me?
Let's speak.
Yes, it is.
Let's see if the mic's volume's adjusted for you. Say something.
Hello, hello, hello.
Okay, I think you're on.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, council members, staff. Mark Rentz. I'm offering up the following comments today on behalf of Aqua, and not necessarily the Ag-Urban, not the Ag-Urban Coalition. And I'm going to go through and provide you some of our comments, and I kind of want to maybe address a couple of points I heard raised during this colloquy especially between Mr. Norduff and Mr. Fiorini and Mr. Johnston, if I could. First of all, Aqua recognizes that the most recent version, the version before you today, of the revised WRP1 language by council members Fiorini and Johnson with the assistance of their staff is an improvement over the previous versions. I think when you get a chance to walk through the iterations, Mr. Norduff, you'll probably agree with us. We believe that there are additional issues that will be identified today by individual water agencies or representatives, that if if we resolve those issues, it actually provides a greater assurances that the intent of the council with regards to WRP 1 will be achieved in a manner that is consistent with the Delta Reform Act. That being said, from Aqua's perspective, the current draft is moving towards an achievable pathway to advance the statewide policy of reduced reliance on the Delta in meeting future water supply needs and improving regional self-reliance. And we've come to that conclusion for several reasons. Some of them Ms. Davis pointed out, but I'd like to take a few moments to point out to you as well. First of all, one of our concerns with the past iterations we raised several times was we didn't know exactly what we had to do, our members had to do, to be in compliance with WRP1. We believe the current draft does identify specific actions that, if satisfied, constitute compliance with WRP1, and we assume that means also with the Delta Plan, as WRP1 applies to the Delta Plan. Second of all, we think that the current draft acknowledges in several places that regional water agencies, districts, are in the best position to do the type of analysis that's laid out in here. And I'm going to give you a couple examples that Ms. Davis referred to. First of all, we believe the current draft acknowledges that local and regional water agencies, districts, are in the best position, as opposed to state regulatory bodies, to assess the potential impacts of their proposed actions. And that's what I believe Martha was referring to in the third paragraph of the draft that's before you when it lays out those three elements. As we read that, it is the action proponent that makes that determination, and we think they, of course, are in the best position to do that. Furthermore, as we read through WRP1, we think that the current draft recognizes that local water agencies and districts are in the best position to determine what projects can be taken to achieve that statewide policy of reduced reliance and improved regional self-reliance. We think it's very important that additional language in there is recognized by the council and moves ahead. Then that's the language that are locally cost-effective and technically feasible. Again, as we're reading those 3 points that are laid out there, those are determinations to be made by the local agencies, and we feel they are in the best position to do that. Another important component that was added on there is we do believe that the revised version does provide flexibility when it comes to implementation, in recognizing that there needs to be implementation scheduling. The previous version was silent on that, left one to the conclusion that everything had to be done once. It's absolutely critical that local water agencies and districts have that flexibility, given all the demands, resource limitations, and challenges they face with meeting their obligations that extend well beyond the obligations in the Delta Plan. Finally, we believe, as we're reading anyways, point number 3 towards the bottom of the page, that second set of periods, that it will be up to the water suppliers that have the responsibility for and the authority to determine through their ag or urban water management plan, the method for measuring reduced reliance on the Delta and improved regional self-reliance. I know that's a discussion, as Joe and Martha pointed out, that will probably be ongoing, but that's how we're reading that language now. I do want to refer to one issue that Aqua did draw attention. Joe referred to that on the second page of your package. It was the ag urban suggested changes that we think, again, provides clarity. And Hank, it was an attempt on our part to address, I think, the question I was hearing from you about where do we measure from? How do we start measuring success? What's the baseline? And we're concerned that still the WRP1 is vague on that, and that's what the intent was of the language we offered in the upper paragraph, at the end of the sentence of the upper paragraph, when compared to water use in the absence of measures implemented to achieve the policy. We think that gives you the metric for measuring success and improvement. As I understand your comments, Joe, you said that, and maybe I misunderstood it, that you did not believe it was strong enough to comply with law. And of course, that begs for further explanation as to which law and why not, and what's your basis for that, and whether you want to have that discussion today or not. But we would encourage the council to consider that language. If it needs to be adjusted down the road, that's fine. But again, I think it starts answering your question, Hank, of where are we going to start measuring success from. Otherwise, our fear is it's a goalpost that has the potential to continue to move on us, and we never know what are we measuring success from.
Don't jump away from the microphone since you're being broadcast out and nobody can hear what you said.
He was moving the goalpost down the field.
A couple other points that I thought were very important, and I think it's the intent of Mr. Fiorini and Mr. Johnston in their language, is we read this policy where, while still there are issues that we definitely think we hope you will try to address as people bring them forward today, is we're pleased with the comment you made, Mr. Fiorini, that this policy is designed to focus on positive things that are being done and to provide impetus for others to continue, for people to continue and others to do positive things. We agree with you also that during implementation, more information will be necessary to evaluate how successful we are being in implementation. Just one word of caution, I would say, on that, from somebody who's been dealing with the regulatory world for many, many, many years. Agencies often ask for more information. Agencies don't necessarily use the information they receive, and yet gathering that information and providing that information can be quite costly. So as you move down that pathway, I would encourage you to look at it do a reality check as to what information are we asking, how is it going to be used, and what is the likelihood that it will actually be used, not sitting in a box in a corner somewhere or on a computer gathering dust. So in conclusion, Aqua extends its appreciation to the individual council members and staff for tackling this very complicated policy issue and the other policy issues associated with WRP1. And of course, as always, Aqua is prepared to continue to work with the council and staff as you finalize WRP1 and the draft plan as it goes forward in its further efforts. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Rems.
I'll be glad to.
Mr. Chair, can I ask?
Ms. Gray.
On the document that we have, your proposal, I see 2 red lines, and you kind of refer to them. Are
I'm
these
sorry.
the only?
The second one at the bottom?
Right, the first one is the red line at the end. So those are your proposed changes. And then the last paragraph you deleted.
We thought that language on the last paragraph where it says program and projects to be evaluated could include, that's the existing language. We thought that it provided greater clarification as to which programs and you're referring to, and those are those programs and projects that are designed to reduce reliance. And that's what we tried to provide there in there.
But those are the only proposed language change that you have with this policy?
Yes.
Correct.
The red language is our proposed change language.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Eisenberg.
Thank you.